honor, Jake made the mistake of letting me speak at his wedding.
Okay.
That's when little Jake realized
He made his ghost costume out of his mother's wedding dress.
Jake had a few relationship disasters. Jake had a series of relationship mishaps.
Good.
Jake became convinced that his love life had been cursed. Just had cursed his love life.
So, if you are single and superstitious, maybe you should try cutting some holes in your mom's wedding dress. Because Jake told me himself that he feels like the luckiest guy in the world.
What the heck is quantum computing, and should you care? Hi guys, Crystal here with D-News. I don't know if you've noticed lately, but there's a new wave of computer technology being quietly developed in basement labs and secret company offices. I'm talking about quantum computing. Companies like Google, Microsoft, and IBM, not to mention the US government, have started investing heavily in the development of quantum computers in the last few years, and news of their investments is slowly leaking out into mainstream media. So what is a quantum computer, and why are all of the major powers that influence our lives interested in them? Well, the short answer is that they promise to be faster, safer, and better at solving certain kinds of problems than our trusty laptops. That's only one part of the quantum picture. First off, let's figure out what it means for something to be quantum. Sometimes quantum is used interchangeably with small, but that's not really accurate. Quantum things are happening on all length scales all of the time. The distinction is that the likelihood that we notice these corrections on top of Newton's classical physics decreases rapidly the bigger we get. Weird. At the quantum level, a particle can teleport, travel backwards in time, be entangled with a distant cousin, and a hypothetical cat in a box could be both alive and dead at the same time. This apparently fantastical behavior is all possible because of science. Well, physics. And a little math. Most relevant to our quantum computing plot is the idea of superposition, which transcends classical deterministic outcomes, alive or dead, heads or tails, 0 or 1, describe these states as a distribution of probabilities. The cat has a 70% probability of being alive. And as a funny outcome of the science, we don't have a fixed answer until we actually open the box and insert the cat, take a measurement of the system, or otherwise ask it for a specific output. A computer capable of exploiting this and other quantum properties like entanglement would not be constrained by a classical computer's need to perform calculations sequentially, because quantum bits would be capable of existing in a probability of many states, and thus be much better at tasks like simulating molecular bonds, performing rapid searches of complicated databases, or factoring large numbers very quickly. These examples may seem silly or irrelevant until you learn, for instance, that factorization is prohibitively time-consuming for a classical computer, which is why it forms one common approach to data encryption. Now quantum computers are looking pretty good, especially if you have an interest in national security. So how close are we to a programmable quantum computer? Not that close. You'll probably use one in your lifetime, but don't run out to find one at the store just yet. Research in this area is happening at a rapid rate, and has even resulted in the Nobel Prize for Physics in 2012. But
So today I'm going to show you how I created a professional and fine Wix website for my new business idea. When you train with me at Feral Fitness, you don't have
Can you explain what it is we're going to see?
Well, this is a piece of nitinol which was made in the shape of a coil spring, and the property of nitinol is that it when it's hot and wants to get back to the shape it was when it was made. When it's cold, it's quite relaxed and will take any shape. This is now cold, and you see I can take it and stretch it out.
It was made in the shape.
It was made in the shape that I showed you first. And now it's cold, I can stretch it. Here I have a glass of hot water, and if I just pour the hot water on this thing, here we are. Good as new. In the cool state, it's relaxed and floppy. In the heated state, it remembers its former state. That's why you say it has a memory. So if you make the thing, if you make this piece of wire so it's straight when you made it, then when it's hot, it wants to straighten out. When it's cold, it's just as floppy as a wet noodle. You know, if you take one of these things and put hot and cold water in your hand, it's like a wet noodle when it's cold. When it's hot, it straightens out very suddenly. It's quite strong stuff.
In a small workshop across from his office, he designed and built a wheel with nitinol loops hanging from the spokes. He calculated that if he filled a container with cold water and another with hot water, the loops of nitinol, moving from one bath to the other, would bend, then spring back, and that the sudden spring of the nitinol in the hot water would drive the wheel around, thus becoming the world's first solid-state heat engine. He was right.
David Porter of Galtech Semiconductors demonstrates his recently patented permanent magnet motor called the Carousel electric generator.
This is the latest version of the Carousel motor generator. It's a rotary version. Rotary inside. There's 18 separate sections, what we call a coil section in here. 18 make up the outer diameter. There's 6 coils here that we're using to drive the motor. Okay, we don't have an automatic start on the system right now. That's something that the Intel chip will do. We'll start it up at a pulse rate of approximately 13 pulses, which gives us a 16% duty cycle. It takes a while to spool up because, like I say, it works also as its own flywheel. So we build up the power gradually. The thing about this system is that everything floats on the magnetic field in there. You have very little internal friction. What we're doing is removing the energy from the magnet. The magnet has a specific life. They lose approximately 1% a year. So we're not actually trying to create energy from nothing. The system will not run forever. It's not perpetual motion. We use the amount of energy that is in the magnets. Once that energy is used up, the magnets can be taken out, they can be recharged. All we're doing is maximizing the efficiency of the electromagnetic flux density that's there to the production of electrical output.
By stimulating the existing oscillations of space energy, his radiant energy device ran for days, putting out 50 kilowatts of electricity. His public demonstrations attracted newspaper coverage and scientists from Bell Laboratories and the Department of Agriculture's Rural Electrification Administration. Although no one could find evidence of fraud, neither could anyone explain how the radiant energy device worked. During the 30s, he developed semiconductors and transistors that were far ahead of their time. Unfortunately, as all too many inventors have suffered, when he refused to sell out to powerful interests, Moray and his family were threatened, shot at, and their laboratory ransacked. Ignored by the U.S. Patent Office, Moray quietly stopped public disclosure of the device after it was destroyed by his assistant, Felix Frazier, a communist sympathizer who was frustrated when Moray declined his repeated offers to take that technology to Russia.
This torch here is producing a temperature of 1200 degrees Celsius. Now try cooking an ordinary egg like that, and in a very few seconds the results would be quite an explosion. But I'm going to leave this torch here, blowing on this egg for a couple of minutes before we crack it open. And it ought to survive the inferno because it's coated with a remarkable new plastic. What it's made of is a closely guarded secret. All the inventor will say is that 20 years' experience as a ladies' hairdresser led him to the discovery. So, how is it doing? Well, it hasn't broken up at all, and you can see on the front here it's glowing red hot. But just watch this. If I turn the flame off, and remember that it was producing 1200 degrees Celsius, and I take that charred bit and I put it flat in the palm of my hand, it only just feels warm. And if I then crack it open, what's more, the egg hasn't even begun to start cooking.
In Oklahoma, where oil has been king for over a century, inventor Troy Reed has been busy in his shop constructing rotating magnetic motors that he believes will soon revolutionize how we get around.
And it does work. It's 150 volts. What we're going to do, turn off all the switches, make sure there ain't nothing plugged into it. There's the plug. There's your 110 volts. Motor still running. You can operate this table plumb around. Still got energy running. Nothing tied up in the back of it. Nothing on the floor. Rotate around, still running electricity. So we're looking, hoping this time next year that you'll be able to use it in your home. So that's another. And what's good about this, you're talking about electric automobiles, this right here can sit in the back of an electric automobile and generate electricity and charge batteries up in a car. Beautiful automobile. You can drive it anywhere you want to. You don't pollute the air. All the other electric automobiles that I've actually seen has been nothing but this standard transmission. This is an automatic transmission car. There's not a whole lot of what you call junk, I would call, under cars. I've seen a lot of electric cars that had a lot of stuff in it. The only thing that this has a battery to run the radio, the blower. We've got two safety switches over here that can be mounted into an enclosed system, but we did this where you could see where people
Immortality.
Immortality. What is we were actually made of a small yet massive time loop. Our deaths to our births. The end and the beginning of this universe. It's to me a time-traveling learning curve. For idea is quite impossible if this loop isn't manifested within our capacity for understanding. Trying to archive an idea so that the past can be taught and created. For nothing happens by chance. Movement doesn't happen automatically. Even this time loop I have caused doesn't have much movement. It has to be created and given to an almost oblivious past. Pleasure, pain. It's all made of time and gravity.
Immortality. What if we were actually made of a small yet massive time loop? Our deaths to our births. The end and the beginning of this universe. It is, to me, a time-traveling learning curve. For idea is quite impossible, if this loop isn't manifested within our capacity for understanding. Trying to achieve an idea. So that the past can be taught and created, for nothing happens by chance. Movement doesn't happen automatically. Even this time loop I have caused, doesn't have much movement. It has to be created and given to an almost oblivious past. Pleasure, pain. It's all made of time and gravity. So, if we want to live forever, we need to genetically for time travel as a mutation, not machines, which did help me back then. Why not bond technology with DNA to make our mutations controlled? Faster or slower? Each has its benefits as well as losses. If we do become such mutants, which I have, then healing would become faster, as well as thought. Imagine breaking an arm and reverting to the point when it was healthy and unbroken. There must be a genetic memory that remembers what it was, going back to the point when it was functioning. It is a part of the everyday human, but there is little or no time travel a part of healing. So, if we grow old and understand that we don't want to die, that we want to be young, healthy and happy again, the mutation would work to make that person what they want. For mutation works with wants and desires that seem impossible but made possible through change in our mutagenic DNA structures.